Hey everyone, I wanted to provide a quick overview of the service, ROTY Biotech community. For those of you who are just joining us, we're about 500 members, a little bit less of traders, investors in biotech. We have heads of companies, we have people managing money at family offices, we have doctors of various specialties, newbies. So what's nice is we have this integrated community where we're all trying to share and want to see each other succeed. We're exchanging ideas. We're stepping on each other's toes a little bit in a respectful manner when it comes to sharing why you invested in a stock. Don't expect just a yes man approach here that everybody agrees with you, confirmation bias. We really are here to make each other better investors. I do note that Seeking Alpha, every once in a while, they do run a sale on their end. So keep an eye open for that. For my end, I just focus on the service, adding value for the portfolio. Some weeks I'll have a few posts. I can have a few weeks in a row where I don't post anything other than the weekly recap. I'm not a fan of fluff. The litmus test for me is if I'm adding value for the portfolio, that means it's going in the right direction. And if I'm not, then I'm just a guy who's writing and the service does not, merit being here. So we're pretty strict on that bar for adding value and making sure that the service is truly worth it for you guys. Um, I should know the service is about 20 years in the making. I started investing in 2008, made every mistake in the book. The idea, hopefully, is you guys learn from my mistakes as well as others we all share and chat together. Um, it was about 8 years ago that I actually started the service. Um, it was actually Seeking Alpha who pushed me a couple of times to do it. For my case, I just wanted to focus on my job, teaching English. I was running at the time a clothing store, a restaurant, had other businesses in Peru. And it's funny over time how this community has come together. That's definitely not been a me thing. That's been you guys. I've definitely had a lot of help along the way to make the community what it is today. So if you're looking at it with fresh eyes, you're like, oh, wow, here's the welcome page. What do I do? How do I start? If you click on coverage here, you will see the stocks currently being covered. These are only names I own, usually around 10 to 15 names. That's my sweet spot. More than that, and it's too hard for me to follow them, especially as a part-time trader. Trade to live, not live to trade. I don't want to be on screens all the time, so I try to focus on just the few setups I understand well, and you can see how they perform since I've picked them here. If you click on detailed portfolio here, this blue button here, detailed portfolio, special thanks to a member Fladrick who runs the spreadsheet because I have no idea how to do spreadsheets, so he's been doing that. You can see the model account here, portfolio weightings for each company I own. What is the gain? What is the loss? For those of you who are visual, the pie chart helps. You can see I've definitely had bad years like 2022. I always say that, if you're not doing good emotionally or things are going on in life, that maybe that's not the best time to invest. Mistakes can be compounded when you're not thinking them through. And I definitely had a rough year, 2022. You can see over time, consistency compounds. We were able to come back from that. And the portfolio has currently a 201% gain. Um, versus negative 1% for the BBC, which is clinical stage biotech ETF, and 6% return for XBI. So, $100,000 initial investment has grown to over 300,000 in the space since inception, October 2021 for this portfolio. I do note, I remind people to keep expectations lower. My personal goal is 12% compounded returns, base hits over home runs. I'm not trying to swing for the fence. I'm focusing on risk management first. And the occasional home run, like the recent Apellis buyout for one of our top holdings, I've been buying into the dip for 140% premium. Things like that will happen because we're focusing on risk reward first, and managing our downside. And we'll occasionally get one of those. If you go to the resources section, there's a guide to starting out in the service. My previous winners losers post, again, especially my losers, I hope you learn from those yourself instead of having to make those mistakes on your own. I know a certain amount of mistakes we all have to learn ourselves, market tuition and such. But learn from my mistakes. Please check that out when you have the time. ROTY principles behind my investing. If you haven't done too much of the investing process, due diligence, red flags, green flags post will probably help you to learn how to dig into these companies for yourself, pearls of wisdom from the ROTY community, from our veterans, just wise nuggets people wrote in chat that I thought were best to repeat and put there and help us all learn from. Again, this has been formed over 8+ years of your feedback. So we used to have a lot more things going on here. What we stuck with the features that add the most value. We're all busy people. The top link is the quarterly portfolio update. I publish this, once every 3 months. Sometimes it can be a little bit more, sometimes it can be less. Um, It'll give you my personal cost average for each holding, my plan, possible price targets here. I'm not a fan of price targets, but people, it helps them. So there's a bull, there's a bear, and there's a blue sky if things go really well. I remind people of great, managing your personal balance sheet, trade to live, not live to trade, getting the 5 F's of lined up. I find if I spend too much time in screens and away from, you know, uh, other things that are important, that your priorities, at least for me, can get out of. You can see management execution scores, because too many times I was sucked in by management teams that are cheerleading, that promise a lot but fail to deliver. So that's why I started doing management execution scores, evidence of strengthening thesis, evidence that the story is getting better, grading both of those 1 to 5. There's a position summary of each position, the portfolio weighting, the gain, the loss, a brief thesis, a brief reason of why I own. Balance sheets, of course, are very important in biotech. So I remind of the cash position, the burn rate. Don't want to get caught in positions, where the company's running out of money. That happened to me in the past. Weekly charts. I provide an overview. Again, I only have the technical analysis of a third grader. I just look at the major moving averages, but it's my thoughts. You can click on them for each chart. There's a section called 3 names to potentially prioritize, names I suggest people to look out for. Again, the service should be viewed as a biotech buffet of ideas, of my portfolio ideas, and then from there, it's up to each member to choose the ones that appeal to you, not just blindly following me, but doing your own investigating as well. And then finally, there's updates on each holding, the news for each holding. So again, these quarterly portfolio updates are every 2 or 3 months, to help us keep tabs on them. And the reason I don't do more often is because all the news that's important, that sticks out to me, I put in these weekly recaps, weekly summaries. We'll get. Also in resources after the portfolio updates is Catalyst Tracker. So that's a tool that lets you see each stock I own, each program, the stage of development, IP, intellectual property, what do they own it to, my conservative peak sales estimate. I usually am on the low side because I'm very conservative. The probability of success, the competitive bar, versus competition. Is there a lot of competition high or less competition low? And when the next catalysts are coming, it could just be sales and launch metrics, for a drug every quarter, how are the sales doing? It could be a data set coming up, phase 2 in 2027. So it just gives an overview of each company. I'm less catalyst focused than I was in my, day trading, swing trading days. I'm more a multi-year time frame guy now, but it's still important to know these things. You'll see my playbook, which I try to publish this once every month or 2 months. It started as just a list on my phone of the next ideas I wanted to invest in. The idea being like chess, if we plan our moves out ahead of time, for me, the next 5 to 10 moves, companies I would like to buy. It helps take all the emotion out of it. For example, Rare Ultragenics was one of the ones I was looking at scooping up in the high teens after it sold off, had some bad readouts. I'd been stalking it. You saw my due diligence for multiple years. So here it says the rationale why I would like to scoop it up for the Engelman syndrome program. Valuation is cheap in the dip to low 20s or high teens. They got some complete response letters and other things that made the pessimism go up and the stock price go down. So I'm looking at where is it going 2027, 2028 as they go to cash flow break even. It's known for being a company with a high burn rate, but it'd be nice to see that improve as the pipeline has a couple approved programs and sentiment rebounds. A caveat I always say, some of these setups I will be able to enter, and many of them will run without me. That's fine. These are possible setups that I could invest in. It's not all of them, but it's some of the ones I have on my radar. And at the very end, it gives you some more of the due diligence behind it, some of the news, the highlights for each name. Again, Playbook is just to help you see a few of the names on my radar, a glimpse into my process behind the scenes. Next, you have Coffee at the Close invite link. This is a monthly or every other month Zoom call we do, all the members of ROTY Biotech community together. Great time to talk stocks, other names on our radar, what we're struggling with, what we're doing good with. Some calls have a pretty high tone when we're doing well, and some calls, when we're going through a rough patch, it's nice that we're in the foxhole together supporting each other. Um, you can see a replay of the prior call here where we're all talking together. I definitely suggest looking at those. There's a member directory. I just started this, so it's a work in progress, but some of the more veteran members, it helps you see their username, their background. So when you see them sharing ideas, you get a little bit of context for each one. Like Tom, TDM Invest is a vineyard owner. The margins in the wine business are low, so he prefers biotech because it has high margins, focuses on commercial stage names, but black sheep names that are out of favor, prioritizes balance sheets, SG&A margins. He also does some catalyst swing trading. So again, for each person on here, Mike, former hedge fund manager, Jose Hurtado, who focuses more on a long-term approach. He even buys on the way up assets and platform technologies with high strategic value. Say ER Capital, who's been a full-time investor for 10 years. Each person, you can kind of see their background, some of them with buy or sell side pharma, worked in internal medicine, you name it. So it's nice to see. And I will hopefully build out this section over time as more people share their profile. And for those of you who prefer to stay super anonymous, I get it. Whether it's compliance or your companies, you name it, that's fine too. That's why we prefer having most people, an alias, a different name, opposed to your actual name, a different one, so you can share and chat. But entirely up to you. I know we have a lot of lurkers. A new recent project is video library. A lot of you are visual learners, so I'm doing more videos lately as I'm able. One about how to do my daily scans and due diligence. How do I manage winners like the recent Apellis buyout win? I don't rush my trades. I take my time and order my next potential buys. So there's more on that. About a few weeks ago, we had a tough loss in Derm. It's since come back. But when you wake up to a biotech uh, gut punch, when a stock goes against you, there's negative news. What do you do? And so that video was all about how I react to negative news. How does that affect me? How do I hang in there during a rough market when things are just going against you and you're trying to hang in there and it seems like every day your portfolio is going down? So videos about the mindset, the psychology behind it, and I will add more to the videos over time. More things going on in the house here. You guys know the situation last few months, helping care for my parents. I know some of you have aging parents as well, and that's interesting. And again, it goes back to our trade to live theme, not live to trade. It's interesting. The most recent, hot streak or performance period of high performance is coming with this in the backdrop. And that's actually why the strategy exists, so we can focus on things outside of trading, outside of investing. Hold high quality names patiently. I was just talking about this with Revolution Medicines that's had that breakthrough in pancreatic cancer that people think buy and hold is dead in biotech, but it's not. It's just we find the right companies and hold them patiently. As clinical and commercial momentum accelerate, I check in with each news development or every quarterly development. So that's definitely been a lesson I've relearned recently is while I'm taking care of my parents, that this strategy, that's why I made it the way I made it, is I'm a part-time investor, want to be on screens part of the time. When I am on screens, I want to do maximize my value add to my portfolio. And that's what the service is all about is, whether you have a few hours a week or you do it each weekend or, every other weekend, that when you are doing your trades, when you are doing due diligence, when you are sharing your thoughts in chat, that this adds as much value as for you as possible in the limited available time each of us has. So speaking of which, that's why I did the weekly recap posts. I try to have them out Saturday mornings. Sometimes it can be late, but the idea is if you've been busy during the whole week and have no idea what we've done, which is normal because you've been with family, with work, whatever, this brings you up to speed on latest events in the portfolio, So it'll give you my articles for that week. This was a busy week, so there were 3 articles, some trades after our Apellis buyout. What stocks did I move some of the money into? The model portfolio, how did it do? It lets you see my personal portfolio, which I, again, started from scratch. What was it, a few years back when you guys know my story. I won't get into it, but I had to my clinical stage biotech portfolio had round trip during the bear market, and on top of that, I was going through a rough personal time where I moved back from Peru and started over from square one. So it's nice to see over time that these small dollar cost average purchases have added up over time. That good decisions compound instead of giving our gains back to the market. That we're just when we're doing great, we're doing great, but when we're doing poorly, we're trying to keep those drawdowns in the portfolio as shallow as possible. And that's what's led to my portfolio growing again. And that's reflected here in the realized gains, losses. I still have, you can see the red circles here, some bigger losses, but a lot more gains, some smaller red circles here. That's my goal, keeping my losses as small as possible. Same goes here with the trailing 12-month gain loss ratio, my win rate for realized gains. My goal is to have that at 70% win rate. During my rough patches, that gets as low as 30%. It's been pretty bad. And lately, that's 85%. So well over my goal so far. Again, I just think of that as like a check engine light. When that's going down, that's a signal to me, oh, something's wrong. Maybe I'm rushing my trades. One of my pitfalls is if I'm riding high, I'll buy too many speculative high risk setups, get overconfident, or maybe I size in too high, I buy too much because I'm overconfident, and that's when I set myself up for losses. So I'm visual, looking at these circles, looking at the win rate. That's just something that helps me personally. Same thing you can see here, personal rate of return. All of this comes directly from my Schwab account. Since Schwab took over TD Ameritrade is where they started tracking it, November 2023. 318% return. Right now, that's 80% annualized return. Again, that's definitely not me. That's, as you guys know my story. There's that verse, what is it? Proverbs 21:31. The horse is made ready for the day of battle, but the victory belongs to the Lord. And just the way I put it is, I'll do all the preparation I can, but the results aren't up to me. But I will focus on what I can, which is putting in all the work, all the due diligence, improving my process as much as possible. So again, my goal is 12% annual returns. Right now, that's significantly north of that. At some point, there's going to be a pullback. So that's why I try to keep people's expectations grounded. And sometimes we get too excited, but keep in mind there's going to be pullbacks and rough patches, periods where I do poorly too. That's just part of the game. Highlighted DCA purchases, dollar cost average purchases. I try to each month. Some months I might have $500 to deposit to my account. Some months it's nothing because of travel expenses. You guys know I'm a nomad these days. Most of what I own is in my backpack, my suitcase. But when I am able to, there was a month in March, the sector was going down, and I put a good bit of money to work in Apellis, took advantage of dips to 1917. And highlighting these dollar cost average purchases is a way for me to share with you where I have conviction too. Just another way of sharing what I'm looking at. So Apellis worked out pretty nice, that buyout above $40. So I hope some of you took advantage of that. Biohaven's been rebounding lately, and then Derm, that gap down. I thought sevens was cheap, and it gapped down to fours. So that shows you not all of them work out. That's for sure. There's also the companies I would start with section. So I put myself in your shoes as a newbie or somebody joining the service for the first time. And it's not a complete list, but it's companies I would, if I were you, that I would start doing due diligence on. I know over half of members probably not blindly, but follow my trades. And I appreciate the love, the trust. I get it. I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys too much. But the idea is that you start with these names, but do your own due diligence on them. Like Kura, Buy Below 9. I like their AML asset, 50% owned. Sales increasing. They have first line AML pivotal studies coming out, data in the next couple years. They have more data coming for a wholly owned FTI, cabozantinib combination. So it gives you a brief reason why I think you should look at it. Links to my prior trade post if you're looking at my initial due diligence and research to start yours. and the pathway to value creation. In this case, Komzifti launch metrics for the drug, progress in frontline AML studies, and combination data for the second drug. So Kura below $9, Telix below 950, etc. It gives you an idea of each company, 5 companies to start out with. There's also the incremental strengthening, weakening a thesis or my conviction. Like Iovance, I thought that thesis strengthened with a complete response letter for its competitor Replimune. The share price has gone down since, so people may be thinking regulatory risk there is a thing. But I find this helps me because too often in the past I would be cheerleading these companies, but you know, when the story took a downturn, too often I would ignore that. So this is a way that I bring that front and center and ask myself, just as you guys asked me, is the story getting better or is it getting worse? Material de-risking events for each company. I remind you that I try, when in doubt, don't be a hero. I have it written, you can't see it, but a sticky note here on my laptop because too often I buy, Leroy Jenkins. For those of you who know the reference, I'll just go right into it instead of waiting for these events that show that thesis is strengthening. And then I buy, like Syndax has been one of our lowest stress holdings, and I bought it after I saw sales metrics for both of its drugs were improving, and now it's like 12% of the portfolio, 160% gain, and every quarter sales growing. So it's been a very low stress hold. So material de-risking events for each holding. Biohaven, they have their KV7 pivotal data second half of the year, obesity data, more data for their lead protein degrader programs late this year or early next year. So each one, it tells you what de-risking events I'm looking for. If the data goes in our direction or a regulatory approval, etc., then I'll keep holding patiently. Maybe I'll buy more. And if the de-risking event, like the Liquidia judge decision over the litigation case for Eutrepia versus Uther, their big competitor, if that goes against us, I'll be the first person to open my mouth, insert my foot, sell, and move on. So I just let the events guide me whether to hold patiently or not. Each company I would like to hold patiently, 3 to 5 years, multi-year time frame. Where our sales or the pipeline going? Right now we're April 2026. So where are the sales and pipeline going? 2026, second half of the year, 27, 28. That's how I hold patiently, but I just follow the news flow. If it's going in the right direction, I hold patiently. And if it's going against me, I'll be the first to realize I got it wrong, tell you guys, sell, and move on. Nothing special. There's the 3 charts of note section. Maybe it's a winner, a loser, a chart that I think is especially viable. I try to point these out to you guys. Select news for each holdings. Again, this is why I publish the quarterly full portfolio updates quarterly, is because the news, whatever's recent, appears in these weekly recaps for you guys. So again, if you've been away from markets, this brings you up to speed what's happened with each of our holdings. And then finally, chat room highlights. Same thing applies. I know a lot of you have limited time, so I try to highlight the conversations, discussions that I thought were important. Wow, say it, don't spray it, sorry. So you can see here, we have a rule in chat that you're not allowed to share anything that's said in chat outside of chat without asking that person's permission first. Like Osmium, he's our medical device veteran. He shares his thoughts on Telix. And so, if I were to share Osmium's post on X or elsewhere, I would have to ask his permission first. The reason we did that is because we have a lot of, KOLs. We have people who whether they're biotech executives, you name it, or maybe it's just their hard-earned, their research. Like Mike from NZ, he shares his portfolio updates with us, former hedge fund trader, investor, and I really appreciate Mike. He always comments on my trades. I comment on his. His tier system has helped me a lot. How to size your positions. Just an example of one member of many who's helped me out a lot and made me the trader investor I am today. But Mike always reminds us he shares his positions with our community as a way to give back, as a way of saying thank you. But he doesn't want them shared elsewhere because that's thousands of hours of work for him. So please, a reminder: just be courteous. Ask people's permission first. Don't share things outside of chat. So you see chat room highlights here. A few veteran top 5 updates and trades. So people sharing their top 5 positions, why they own them, maybe what they bought or sold each week, which is really nice and helpful. Our non-biotech chat for things for outside of markets, macro, other sectors. And then finally, JF commentary. What I like about that is it's like a one-on-one conversation between me and you guys, things that stood out to me. And there's also other blog posts, public articles that I wrote, videos, and lastly, other developments, reads. If I come across a podcast I listened to that I thought was interesting, or a drug approval, or something cool that happened in the sector that I saw on BioTwitterX, I'll share it with you guys. Before, this was a separate post, biotech sector snapshot, but those were coming out so late that I included this section in the weekly recap as well. Just things that you guys might find interesting. And lastly, I remind people that even if you're starting with a small account or a large account, whatever it is, how you manage small dollars is how you're going to manage a larger account. So make your rules, your system, form your rules and system as early as possible. Don't be an idiot like me, where you just kind of, what's the word, gunsling, shoot from the hip and just make decisions on the fly. That's how emotions take advantage, greed, panic, fear. Keep a trade log, share what you're learning in chat. That's what we're all here for. And lastly, I got to go help out with my mom and stuff again. But you can see here the launch chat. You click on it, and chat will show up. Um, this is the main chat channel, ROTY Biotech Community, where everybody talks about anything and everything biotech. We do have the ticker rule, like Kura here with Primi. He shares news. Always put the stock ticker first. That way, when you're using the search feature here, you can type in, for example, Kura, and see all the prior discussions on it. So this it's a work in progress. It's not a perfect search, but it does help. But that's again why we put the stock ticker first. So before you ask a question, make sure it can help if you look for prior discussions on that stock ticker. So ROTY Biotech Community. JF commentary is my specific commentary, my one-on-one conversation with you guys, so to speak. I'll post news and updates there in real time as I'm able. Other thoughts I'm having. Real-time trades is one of the channels I'm really proud about that we added because it adds so much value to you guys. It lets you post what you're buying, what you're selling in real time, and why. So sometimes it'll be new members, sometimes it'll be our veterans sharing, hey, I just went long this company, or now I own 10% portfolio weighting of this company, and why they own it. And again, you can click here, reply in thread. That's how we prefer you do it. And so if somebody says like Hubi, I entered Telix, or Elganka said I entered Pali, which is a more speculative name, 8% portfolio weighting. And so I was like, what's the rationale? And Chris likewise said, hey, 8% portfolio weighting, that's really high conviction for a binary stock. Could you elaborate? And so Elganka shared his reasons for entering Pali, which readouts he liked and why. So that's why we do these discussion threads. Top 5 holdings is another channel I like, where members can share, like Gary did here, their top 5 stocks they own and why. So Cell, so QD, CELC, Corvus, BBio, BridgeBio, Pivella. Gary's been on a hot streak lately. Congrats, Gary. But he did give us a new idea, Veer, which is at 850 and still pretty cheap, 500 million enterprise value, platform technology name, and cancer. He noted that he entered it also because there were some really convincing responses, especially in the most heavily pretreated prostate cancer patients and those who had liver mets, brain mets, etc. So this is an example. People share their top 5 holdings. It can be simple. I just own these companies. Or you can do what Gary did and share why you own each name. And again, what's fun is that turns into a discussion thread where we all share our thoughts and we all become better investors. We have a non-biotech channel for things outside of biotech. We have meetings and off topic for, sure, politics, but we do keep it respectful, guys. Please, I know we can't avoid politics, but respectful. And a lot of you guys, when you find out, hey, who lives in Washington where I live, or who lives in Texas where I live, or the UK, we have members in Europe, we have members in China, you name it, all over the world. So if you're wanting to meet up with other members, see who lives near you, or just discuss other things outside of biotech, this is where you do it. We have an options trades for those of you sharing how you trade options channel. We have technicals and indicators where you can post the charts that are interesting to you and why, where's their strength, where there's weakness. And there's also, lastly, JF's trade log, where I just post the trades. Again, just like everything, that was feedback from you guys who said, we want a channel that's just your trades. So, if you're looking at chat and you've been away, you can go right to the good stuff, right? The parts that help you the most. So as you can see, the service is more like Ogres are like onions. Yeah, Shrek reference, right? But it's you peel the layers. You can go as deep as you want in the service, the discussions in chat, everything, or as shallow as you want. There's some people who probably go straight to coverage. All they want to see is what stocks I own and why. They use the model account. There's three layers here. I'll finish here. If you're looking at my picks, what I own, there's the core biotech picks coverage, which shows you how they perform since the initial picking only. The first day I picked it, how have they performed? There's the detailed portfolio, which is a model portfolio here. I try to follow the model portfolio with my account, but again, there's small differences. The model portfolio, the trades occur at the end of each trade, each day. So if I announced a trade at 10 a.m., that could have maybe the trade would then happen at 4 p.m. at the close. So that's been a handicap we've had on this portfolio since the very beginning to make sure we're on the same side as you. The trade's announced like 10 a.m. or 3 p.m. or whatever, and it takes place at the close. So again, you have the model portfolio here, you have the coverage page here, and lastly, in each weekly recap, you can see my personal portfolio here. What are the portfolio weightings? For me, my cost average, gain or loss. And I also post that in at the top of each trade post as well. I post my personal portfolio update. And again, you can zoom in on that as you need to. So that probably was longer than I was expecting. I think I got some traction over here I got to get to. But I hope that helps everybody see the portfolio, the service, how does it work? Again, it's all the features have been made with you in mind, especially saving you time as much as possible. Whether you have just a couple hours each weekend and all you do is look at the weekly recap, or if you decide to go deeper, join us in chat. Some people lurk, some people share. We hope over time more of you go from lurker to sharing. But that's, there are no dumb questions in chat. We're all here to learn and improve and to help each other. So cheers, guys. Hope this helps you, especially if you're joining us for the first time, get an idea of how the service works. Cheers.